What's up, guys? Welcome back to the MadGood Knicks show. It's your boy TK here with Stef and Pete. Say what's up, guys.
What's up, guys? That's the third time. I'm gonna kill you.
That's the charm. Let's do it.
All right, I think they get the point. Please like, comment, subscribe,
Share.
and share. You guys got it. All right, let's bring it in. Let's talk a little bit about Dotson and Knox, right?
That's
Dotson's been playing really, really well, and Knox just came back from an injury. Let's talk a little bit about Dotson's stat breakdown. What you got for us, Pete?
Absolutely. If you've been following us on Twitter, you know how much praise we give this guy during the games. He seems to be able to make clutch shots, critical moments, makes great defensive plays, really kind of a two-way player.
Yeah.
And right now, he's averaging 30 minutes a game, 12.2 points per game. He's actually getting you 5.7 rebounds, which is great, and just over an assist. He's shooting about 46%, 35 from the three, and 66 from the free throw line.
Really?
So his
That
stats that low. His stats aren't off the chart, but they're serviceable. And for the amount of effort he gives you, I think it's definitely a workable situation.
Well, with that being said, you did mention 35% from three, right?
Yes.
That's big time. Because
That's
what we
solid.
had in the lineup before wasn't much shooting.
No.
And I think implementing a lineup that has majority shooters for the most part, at least now that Ntilikina's shooting the ball pretty well, Dotson plays an integral part in this lineup, I think.
Yeah,
What
I
do you
agree.
think, Steph?
Can we mention that he vastly improved since last season?
Oh my
this
goodness.
season, if I could kind of categorize what kind of player he is, he's a player that you would, for example, if you're on the defensive end, you wouldn't be comfortable with him having the ball on the three-point line, with him driving the ball, with him doing anything with the ball. So I think that we're getting to a good spot with a point guard who's averaging, like you said, well over 5 rebounds, and I think that's something we haven't had in a while. So it's good to have some player with that type of pace and that type of energy to either come off the bench or potentially in the future start for us. Who knows?
Gotcha. So really quickly, before we jump into Knox's stat breakdown, how surprised are you by Damyean Dotson's start? Because coming into the season, I don't think he was really on any of our radars. At least definitely not
No,
starting.
you have to give respect where respect is due.
Absolutely.
This
He
guy
worked his
came out
ass
to play.
off.
He worked his ass off, and he definitely deserves this role. Like I said, it's only his second year right now with the Knicks. There's so much potential for this kid.
Absolutely.
Pete, go ahead.
Dotson, if you compare his numbers this year to last year, his minutes basically doubled, and his point production doubled as well.
Good.
Yeah.
And the thing about his field goal percentage, I mean, he's still a young player, so obviously there's room for improvement there. But that's a little bit misleading because what I've noticed with him in games is he tends to make shots at big moments.
in the
So
game, yeah.
although his percentage isn't that high, he does make big shots and he makes big defensive plays, which don't always show up on stat lines. And those
Yeah,
kind of
about that.
a lot of those little intangibles.
He performed
And I'm
really
not-
well against
yeah.
Zach LaVine. And
Oh yeah, 100%.
And
You know
Zach
what he
LaVine's
does
killing
really
it.
well? He
Zach
steps
dropped
into a
41.
lot of his threes.
I know, but
He
He's
does.
a trailer, and he steps
he
into a
does.
lot of his threes. Really quickly,
Yeah.
I know this isn't a fair breakdown,
Yeah.
only because the man hasn't been around long enough and he hasn't played a handful of games just yet.
And he's
But we
been
gotta-
injured.
He's been injured, of course.
But-
we got to talk about Kevin Knox's stats
Knox.
here.
Yeah.
That's our boy. We love the kid. There's going to be some growing pains. You know,
Yeah.
he's still a teenager. Let's discuss his stats. He's only played a handful of games. He's averaging 6 points, 1.2 rebounds, and 0.2 assists. Guys, how do you feel about his progression thus far?
I'm not worried about it at all. I just think that it's a combination of his injury, a combination of him being inexperienced, but him just being maybe not secure in the position he's in because he's a brand new player who's deemed an all-star. And this is a brand new organization, so he's trying to find himself while others in the organization are trying to find themselves. So nothing's really established for him. So I think that he's put in an awkward spot, especially now with the injury. So I think there's a lot of nerves, but he's still so young, and I think we need to let him develop mentally and then kind of just judge him off of that.
Pete?
Well, there's no question that Kevin Knox has had a rough start to the season. 100%. What's not 100% is his field goal percentage. He's only averaging about 30% from the field, making slightly more from three-point land and 40% from free throws. So obviously, I don't know if it's jitters. He does sometimes seem a little bit nervous, a little bit overwhelmed out there. I don't think it's his skill set. I think he's a talented player. I don't know why he struggled so much. You know, sometimes the offense out there does seem a little stagnant. You would like to see more integration of people into more of a motion offense. And if he was put into that situation, maybe he'd do better. But right now, I think it's just a lot of nerves because I think he does have the physical abilities to be a great player. But between the two of them, right now, you got to go with Dotson. Again, it's a question of development, but since they're both such young players, they're kind of on the same footing. So Dotson has the edge for me right now.
There's no rush. There's absolutely no rush.
No, not at all.
Let him work his way back in, get his feet under him, and allow him to develop at a level where he's comfortable. Let's not rush this guy.
So what do you think these guys' ceilings are?
Okay, so that's a great question, Pete. The ceiling, I mean, it's really tough to say with Dotson now because I don't think any of us, again, expected him to be where he is now so soon. But Kevin Knox, man, I see him as a Kevin Durant type player. Once he gets comfortable and his shot starts falling, he builds some confidence. Because that's mainly the thing with him that I've noticed, aside from his health, it's his confidence. He gets out there, he'll miss 2 or 3 shots, and he won't get it going. He was 0 for 6 the other night. He played maybe about 9 minutes, and they pulled the plug on that.
And to clarify, when we say something like Kevin Durant type player, we're not necessarily saying that elite of a level, but that playing style.
Yeah, exactly.
I think Knox is his ceiling. We're praising his offensive abilities, but I think we still need to acknowledge his defensive side. I think that he was a great defender in college. He was able to guard all 5 positions, especially on the perimeter. And I think that him alongside Mitch, that's an underrated defensive duo that we should keep an eye on in the future. So we shouldn't really just fully rely on his offensive abilities. I think he has more to offer.
Mm-hmm. What about Dotson?
Yeah, for Dotson, his what's his ceiling? I see him being almost a more refined THJ, if you will.
Okay.
It's that playing style. I think he's able to probably grow into a player that makes shots more consistently. I think he'll do more on the defensive end. And I think he's going to be more of a type of player that can be integrated within an offense and kind of play multiple roles at different times depending on what you need in the game at any given point.
So speaking about roles,
it's hard pressed for me to think of a player to compare him with, but he's got a broad skill set that I think he can grow into.
You mentioned role. What do you see as the best role for these guys right now?
As far as their playing
position,
time?
Both. A little bit of both.
I think you give the edge to Dotson, but you give Knox a lot of playing time.
Okay.
And for right now, I think you start Dotson, and if Knox supersedes him, if Knox, somehow in the middle of the season really shows out, then you start to, rethink that.
I agree. I think we should push Knox. I think it would be the worst thing for his confidence if we just bench him and not let him play his minutes.
I agree. But I love the fact that we kind of stick with the theme that Fizdale's been going with. You keep what you earn. So if Knox does happen to supersede Dotson on the depth chart, so be it.
So be it, right? Yeah.
Whatever makes the most basketball sense.
Whatever makes the most basketball sense. There you go. All right, guys. So that's been a segment discussing Knox and Dotson. It's TK, Stef, Pete. Say bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Aw, come on.
Bye, guys. My bad.
Later.
All right, guys, we're back this week with mad news. Let's get right into it. Top 8 rookies. Yes, we're talking about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, and a guy that went undrafted. Alonzo Trier. That's damn right. So, with that said, put it in real-life perspective. That's almost like the guy at your office that works next to you in your cubicle, but didn't get an interview. And he's still there.
I want people to be afraid of how much they love me. And I think I proved that today.
So, I suspect, obviously, he's going to be on the team next year. And guess what, guys? Less than 14% of that is going to be our payroll. Essentially, what we're spending on the rookies. That's amazing for us, especially with the talent that they're providing currently. So, if we go into the next thing that you see, how the hell did Derek Fisher not know he was going to be coaching the triangle when that was the thing that was mentioned the most? Really? You didn't know you were going to coach a triangle when they were making promotional videos of the offense? Really? I don't know how else I can touch on the topic. Fisher, you are funny. You a funny dude. Because he also sleeping with someone else's wife. You a funny dude. I have to touch again on Alonzo Trier. Alonzo. Your dude went undrafted. I don't know how many times we can mention that during the season. And he's one of 15 players with 62% true shooting percentage, a 19 usage rate, and over 24 minutes a game. He's the only rookie on that list that includes all-stars. It's a fun fact for you, and you didn't have to open a Snapple, so don't worry, no diabetes for you. No diabetes for you. You good, boy. You good. I don't need to go into the specific players, but you can imagine your Currys, your Durants. Yeah, I went into the players. That's right, I did. I just did that. So, I've been talking about Alonzo. As you can tell, I'm pretty infatuated with the guy currently. And I have an awesome photo here of him. Look at that photo of him making his way out of town. Walking fast. No, but seriously, in this photo, he looks like he's Don Cheadle in Ocean's 11 about to make out with something. And I'm not talking kissing, about to make out with a lot of money. And I have to say, if he stole something, I think we might have stolen the best player that went undrafted. I know some people have been feeling some type of way. And a lot of fans feel this. Do we tank? Do we play our hearts out and just develop? Far, why don't you take it away? Let's see what you got to say.
Thanks, Jay. The Knicks, they have a problem on their hands. Goes by the name of Zion Williamson. 280 pounds, 6'8", star out of Duke. He would look awfully good on this New York Knicks team. But, of course, the Knicks, in typical Knicks fashion, have a typical Knicks problem, and that's, do we typically win or do we typically lose? No one really knows. See, best case scenario for the Knicks, you could argue that it's, hey, maybe they tank the entire season, end up with a top 3 pick, and a guy like Zion Williamson becomes the franchise player alongside Kevin Knox and KP. Simple enough, right? But the Knicks just aren't that bad. The one and only time, Knicks, that you have to be really, really bad just to get that top pick, you guys aren't. And then typically for most NBA teams, best case scenario would be, hey, we make a playoff run, hey, we make a chip run. No, not for this team. If you win too much, that's a problem with the New York Knicks. Typical Knicks fashion. Back to you, Jay.
Damn, Far, I think you're right. That is in Knicks fashion. But look, this was this week's Mad News. Tune in next week, see what we got to say. And just tune in, subscribe, and do everything you've been told to do the past few episodes. Why haven't you done it yet? Come on, guys. Check you out.